All right, Module 4, Personal, Legal, Ethical, and Organizational Issues. Anytime we go on a device connected to the internet, we have the potential of sharing our information willingly or unwillingly with another individual. This could be through malicious activity or it could be through normal commerce that has the potential of having that information leaked. We need to really make sure that we are careful when we are online with our personal information, also with information of our company. It's amazing how much information about us is stored in a database somewhere. And a lot of times it's over multiple databases for different companies, different organizations, and sometimes different governments. And depending on how you look at this, this can be a real invasion of privacy. There's always legal talk about the information collected on consumers, and depending on where you live in the world or where you do business in the world, some information may not be allowed to be collected at all or shared with other organizations. There's a lot of things we can do to minimize this invasion of privacy and the data that is collected on us. Never interact with a website that doesn't have very clear to find and easy to understand privacy policies. And this can be as simple as looking at the URL of the website. Is it HTTP or HTTPS? The S means it's secure. Typically, the companies that go out of their way to get that are going to keep your data safe. And make sure that the data collection has a stated purposes. Are they doing this for marketing? Sometimes they'll be upfront and say, we want to collect data on you so we can target ads on things you might like. Some people find that useful because you're going to see ads anyway. When you go on the internet, ads are just a part of life. You might as well have some advertisements that are actually relatable to some of your interests. Here's some example of some federal laws here in the United States that cover your privacy issues. If you're a health science major or you're familiar with healthcare at all, I'm sure you've heard of HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. This covers a lot of privacy issues revolving around your medical history, and it's definitely something to keep in mind depending on what your organization may interact with. We also have the FACTA and COPPA. You may not be familiar with these, but one covers your credit transaction report, and the other one follows children's online privacy. We've seen this recently with a lot of YouTube videos because some YouTubers with corporate sponsors were catering videos toward children in a good way, talking about toy reviews and unboxing and everything else. But it was targeted advertisement to children, and there's a lot of moral and ethical concerns anytime we're doing any sort of advertisement directly towards children. Our friends over in the European Union have the GDPR, General Data Protection and Regulation, and this is a bunch of laws that help the EU citizens keep their data safe, and we're really concerned about genetic data, racial or ethnic origin, and their religious beliefs. There's a couple key components with GDPR that the user must consent to have their information be used. All that data has to be anonymized, and it's basically saying, hey, we want to know what your age is, but we don't want to be able to link that to you as a person. So we're just taking data points, but we're not connecting them together for an individual. Anytime there's a data breach, we need to let everybody know immediately. We want to have a safe transfer of data across borders. That's kind of a common theme with the European Union. Whether it's your personal email or work email, I'm sure you're getting spam emails all the time. Sometimes they're malicious, sometimes they're not really malicious, they just may not be fully on the up and up. And sometimes we just consider advertisement spam, and we may or may not have signed up for it or not remember signing up for it. But these are just emails that are sent in bulk using automated mailing services like MailChimp or other ones. And spammers have a whole list of email addresses that they can sell for other malicious people to pick up those emails and send the bulk emails out. Really, the idea is, we're sending out hundreds and sometimes thousands of emails at once. We know not everybody is going to click and return on it. We're really looking for that one or two people that are gullible enough to. I'm sure you've heard the term intellectual property being thrown around. I know we've talked about it in this class and we will continue to talk about it. Intellectual property is really just an umbrella term that covers copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets. So let's look a little bit into each one of these. We can have industrial property. These are inventions or trademarks. They could be logos. And copyrighted material, this is things that you publish. These are things that you make. Um, they could be online materials such as a website, code, or computer graphics. And they might even be under the fair use doctrine. You find this a lot on some wikis where you can use certain information, maybe not for monetary use. You can use it without editing. You may even be able to use it with some editing. You really need to read some of the fair use that is involved with certain properties before you use them. So how can we protect some of our IP or intellectual property? You can have a trademark, and this protects your names and identifying marks. That's your logos. Everything is trademarked, and that prevents other people and other organizations from using them. You can get a patent, which protects your process, and usually patents last for so many years, and you can renew them so many times, but these really depends on the countries that you get your patents from. Patents are really great things. Not only does it protect your invention for your use, but you can also get money by licensing your patent to other companies. So you invent, and you might not have the means or the ability to market it and mass produce it, but another company may. So you can sell or license that patent to them. On the malicious side of intellectual property, we have cyber squatting and typo squatting. The whole premise behind cyber squatting is we would register domain names in anticipation that a company is going to come out with this product, or maybe a football team like the Washington football team. We have a lot of cyber squatters guessing the names that the team would be, and they would register all these domains knowing that it'll be sold down the road when the team needs the new name. We see this a lot anytime a new product is launched. Sometimes people will register a whole bunch of domains that haven't been taken to try to really maximize potential profit down the road. On the other side of that, we have typo squatting, and this is really, we want to market a website based on somebody typing it in wrong. You might have a PlayStation, but they spell it wrong, or Sony, but you spell it wrong. And you really want to put a lot of thought into this. It doesn't want to be a common misspelling, but you want it to be easily mistyped on a keyboard. And then instead of users going to the Sony website, they would go to your website, and all kinds of malicious activity can happen from this. But we really need to be aware of cyber squatting and typo squatting. And a lot of times what companies will do, not only will they have their main domain, but they will register various domains of similar spelling, maybe put in some regional dialect into their domain too, that will all redirect to their permanent domain, but it prevents cyber squatting and typo squatting issues around their intellectual property. Finally, we're going to talk about telecommuting. We've really seen a rise on this, and a lot of it is due to COVID pandemics, and it's also due to just the ability of having reliable high-speed internet at home, and having computers powerful enough that they can keep up with the work demand depending on what you're doing. There's a lot of benefits to this. For working parents, it allows them to have better time with their children. Maybe they're taking care of their elderly parents. It allows you to really flex your time at home. Some people think they are more productive at home. Some people are less productive at home. But there's a lot of other benefits too. You don't have to commute. This lowers emissions into the air, but it also gets people in generally a better mood. Depending on where you're at, a commute can really kick your day off on a right or a wrong foot. People also say they get fewer interruptions from coworkers. On the other side of this, you might have more interruptions from your children or family as you're working from home. There are some drawbacks from this. Typically, especially in Japan, we see this a lot where people become workaholics because there's no clear boundary. I like to have that de-stress time on my drive home. My drive to work and my drive home from work, that is my buffer to allow me to keep work at work and to keep home at home. Personally, I also dislike having the interaction with my coworkers. I think that's really how collaboration happens, and doing that remotely is very difficult sometimes. There's really no substitute to face-to-face communication for a lot of office needs. And finally, I mean, telecommuting is great, but it's not a substitute for in-office. Now, depending on what your job is, telecommuting can be perfectly acceptable and you're still able to get the job done. Let me know what you think about telecommunicating. This could be a very good topic for us to discuss offline, and it's also something we need to keep in mind. I think as technology advances more, we're going to see a lot more remote-only positions coming out, especially in the IT field. All right, so this wraps up Module 4. Keep on working. As always, if you have any questions, let me know.